Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Current Affairs MCQs. Let's start with previous day's practice question. The question was, consider the following statements regarding the laws governing charitable organizations in India. 1. The Income Tax Act 1961 provides tax exemptions from charitable donations and defines charitable purposes. 2. The Indian Trust Act 1882 governs charitable trust, including both public and private trust. 3. The Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010 mandates registration for charitable organizations receiving foreign funds to ensure their use for legitimate, non-political purposes. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, or 1, 2 and 3. The correct answer is option C, 1 and 3 only. Laws governing charitable organizations in India. Income Tax Act 1961 provides tax exemptions from charitable donations and defines charitable purposes. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Constitution of India, Article 19, Clause 1C. Citizens have the freedom to form social, cultural, economic, or political associations or unions. Indian Trust Act 1882 governs private charitable trust. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Societies Registration Act 1860 regulates charitable societies. Companies Act 1956 section allows non-profit companies to operate as charities. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010, charitable organizations can receive foreign funds, but they must be registered under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010 to ensure that donations are used for legitimate non-political purposes. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option C is the correct answer. The first question is, consider the following statements regarding glacial lakes. 1. Glacial lake outburst floods are caused by rapid glacier melting due to rising temperatures. 2. The Hindu Kush Himalayas are witnessing an increase in glacial lakes due to climate change-induced glacial retreat. 3. The South Lonak Lake, a glacial lake located at an altitude of 17,000 feet in the Sikkim's northwest, experienced a rupture as a result of continuous rainfall. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 only, or 1, 2 and 3. The correct answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. A glacial lake outburst flood occurs when a glacial lake's dam fails, releasing large volumes of water, often due to rapid glacier melting or heavy precipitation. Hence, statement 1 is correct. These floods can be triggered by glacier volume changes, lake water level fluctuations, and earthquakes. According to the National Disaster Management Authority, climate change-induced glacial retreat in the Hindu Kush Himalayas has created many new glacial lakes, leading to glacial lake outburst floods. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Cases of glacial lake outburst flood in India in June 2013, Uttarakhand had received an unusual amount of rainfall leading to the melting of the Chorabari Glacier and the eruption of the Mandakini River. In August 2014, a glacial lake outburst flood hit the village of Gaya in Ladakh. In October 2023, the South Lonak Lake, a glacial lake located at an altitude of 17,000 feet in the state's northwest, experienced a rupture as a result of continuous rainfall. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding the National Center for Good Governance. 1. It provides training to civil servants from both India and several other countries regarding governance reforms, Digital India, and SDGs. 2. The 6th edition of the Capacity Building Program for Sri Lankan Civil Servants was hosted at the NCGG in New Delhi. Which of the statements given above is or are not correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. The correct answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. National Center for Good Governance was established in 2014 by the Government of India as an autonomous institution under the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. It evolved from the National Institute of Administrative Research, founded in 1995 by the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. NIAR was later integrated and renamed as NCGG, which focuses on training civil servants from India and over 20 countries, covering diverse topics like governance reforms, Digital India, Swamitva, SDGs, and Ayushman Bharat. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The 6th edition of the Capacity Building Program for Sri Lankan Civil Servants commenced at the NCGG in Mussoorie. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The program hosted 40 mid-career civil servants from Sri Lanka, focusing on governance, policy frameworks, AI in governance, and India's successful models in public administration. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Next, consider the following pairs: fluorochemical, ozone depleting potential, global warming potential. Chlorofluorocarbons, high, high. Hydrofluorocarbons, high, high. Hydrofluoroolefin, 0, very low. How many of the above pairs is or are correctly matched? Only one, only two, all three, or none. The correct answer is option B, only two. Hydrofluorocarbons and hydrochlorofluorocarbons were introduced in the 1990s as substitutes for chlorofluorocarbons due to the latter's high ozone depleting potential, which contributed significantly to the ozone hole phenomena over Antarctica. Chlorofluorocarbons have both high ozone depleting potential and high global warming potential, hence pair 1 is correctly matched. Hydrofluorocarbons have a zero ozone depleting potential but still contribute significantly to global warming, hence pair 2 is not correctly matched. Hydrofluoroolefins, on the other hand, represent a newer class of fluorochemicals with zero ozone depleting potential and very low global warming potential, aligning better with environmental goals. Hence, pair 3 is correctly matched. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding to ecDNA. 1. It forms when portions of DNA break away from chromosomes. 2. It is commonly found in cancer cells. 3. It can carry multiple copies of oncogenes. How many of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, or none? The correct answer is option C, all three. Extrachromosomal DNA forms when segments of DNA break away from chromosomes, often due to chromothripsis or errors in DNA replication. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Unlike traditional chromosomal DNA, ecDNA exists independently within the nucleus and can cluster genes in circular structures. It is commonly found in cancer cells, where it plays a critical role in tumor growth, adaptability, and resistance to treatments. Hence, statement 2 is correct. One of its unique features is its ability to carry multiple copies of oncogenes, genes that promote cancer growth, leading to their overexpression. Hence, statement 3 is correct. These attributes make ecDNA a major contributor to the genetic diversity and resilience of cancer cells. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Next, consider the following characteristics. 1. In 1930, during the Dandi March, he led the Salt March in the Madras province from Tiruchi to Vedaranyam. 2. He was the first Indian Governor General of independent India in 1947. 3. He wrote a Tamil translation of the Ramayana titled Chakravarti Tirumagam. Which of the following personalities is best described by the characteristics mentioned above? C. Rajagopalachari, V. O. Chittambaram Pillai, P. Subbaranya, or Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel? The correct answer is option A, C. Rajagopalachari. C. Rajagopalachari was a prominent leader in India's freedom struggle and a key figure in the post-independence era. He played an active role in the Indian National Congress, leading the Salt March in Madras province during the 1930 Dandi March. His arrest during the Vedaranyam Satyagraha gained him national recognition. Rajagopalachari was the first Indian Governor General of independent India and later served as the Governor of West Bengal. He was instrumental in implementing social reforms, promoting khadi, and advocating for social equity. He also translated the Ramayana into Tamil, titled Chakravarti Tirumagan. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statement related to INS Tushil. 1. It is a Krivak third-class frigate from the France-designed project 1135.6. 2. It is equipped with BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles. 3. It is built for blue water operations across air, surface, subsurface, and electromagnetic domains. How many of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, or none? The correct answer is option B, only two. INS Tushil, a Krivak third-class frigate from the Russian-designed project 1135.6, is equipped with advanced weaponry. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. It is equipped with BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, still surface-to-air missiles, anti-submarine torpedoes, and electronic warfare systems. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Designed for blue water operations, it is capable of operating across air, surface, subsurface, and electromagnetic domains. Hence, statement 3 is correct. This versatility ensures its alignment with India's Saga initiative aimed at promoting security and stability in the Indian Ocean region. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Next, regarding cess, consider the following statements. 1. It is a form of tax that is levied for a specific purpose and the revenue is earmarked for a particular use. 2. It is typically charged for a specific time period or until the government has gathered enough funds for the designated purpose. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? The correct answer is option C, both 1 and 2. A cess is a form of tax that is levied for a specific purpose and the revenue is earmarked for a particular use. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Cesses are typically charged for a specific time period or until the government has gathered enough funds for their designated purpose. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Cesses are recognized in the Constitution under Article 277 and Article 270, which outlines the revenue sharing framework between the Union and the states. Examples include Education Cess, Swachh Bharat Cess, and Fuel Cess. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Next, regarding the Reserve Bank of India, consider the following statements. 1. Section 7 of the RBI Act 1934 provides the government with the power to issue directions to RBI in public interest from time to time after consulting the RBI governor. 2. RBI earns income from bonds but cannot retain any surplus. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? The correct answer is option A, 1 only. Section 7 of the RBI Act 1934 provides the government with the power to issue directions to RBI in public interest from time to time after consulting the RBI governor. Hence, statement 1 is correct. RBI earns income from bonds and retains part of the surplus for buffers like the contingency fund and asset reserve. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements. 1. Laysan albatross, a large seabird, is known for its dynamic soaring ability and has an average lifespan of 68 years. 2. The snowy albatross, also known as the wandering albatross, is the largest flying seabird in terms of wingspan and is classified as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Which of the statements given above is or are not correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? The correct answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Laysan albatross is a large, abundant seabird whose breeding range is centered in Hawaii. Like all albatrosses, they are accomplished flyers using dynamic soaring to cover great distances. They mainly feed at night and often far from breeding colonies. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the average lifespan of Laysan albatross is typically around 68 years. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Snowy albatross or wandering albatross is the largest flying seabird in terms of wingspan. Conservation status in the IUCN Red List is vulnerable. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Hence, option D is the correct answer. The last question is, regarding the Vice President of India, consider the following statements. 1. Article 63 provides that there shall be a Vice President of India. 2. The Vice President is elected by an electoral college comprising members of the Rajya Sabha only. 3. Article 324 grants the Parliament the authority to oversee the conduct of elections for the office of the Vice President of India. How many of the statements given above is or are not correct? Only 1, only 2, all 3, or none? The correct answer is option B, only 2. Article 63 provides that there shall be a Vice President of India, hence statement 1 is correct. The Vice President is elected by an electoral college comprising members of both houses of Parliament through a proportional representation system by means of a single transferable vote, as per Article 66. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Article 324 vests the superintendence of elections in the Election Commission of India, not the Parliament. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Now it's time for the practice question. Regarding the next generation launch vehicle, consider the following statements. 1. It will have 3 times the present payload capability compared to geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle Mark III. 2. It will also have reusability resulting in low-cost access to space and modular green propulsion systems. 3. This project will boost the Indian space ecosystem in terms of capability and capacity. How many of the statements given above is or are not correct? Only 1, only 2, all 3, or none? Send the answer to this question in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe for more such content.
For more informative content, like, share, and subscribe. And do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.